Hello, and welcome to the No Wrong Notes podcast, a show hosted by me, Veronica Kokos, holistic voice teacher and singer just like you. Grab a cup of tea, relax, and sit back as we discuss all things singing technique, mindset tips, and more so you can show up as the most confident and creative singer you can be. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of No Wrong Notes. This week, I'll be sharing tips on how to deal with the fear that comes along with sharing your music on social media. We'll be talking about where that fear might come from, tips for working through that fear, and things to remember when the haters come out. Because let's be real, there will always be people that don't like what you post online, period. I wanted to do this episode since one of my students actually asked me about it. They are a singer-songwriter and they have a lot of hesitation when it comes to sharing their music on social media. They perform regularly at their church and have no problem singing live in front of people, but the idea of putting their music out for the entire internet to listen to feels really scary to them since they're afraid of the kind of judgment that they may receive. This entire situation is really interesting to me, especially since this student is a person that doesn't easily get scared when it comes to singing live in person in front of others. And I think it gets at a lot of anxieties that are unique to the digital age that we live in. Since when it comes to the internet, you're not just putting out your music for your friends and family to hear, but potentially millions of strangers to hear. And as we all know, people can be ruthless online. It's almost like being behind a screen gives people license to be as cruel as they want to be sometimes. But we'll dive in deeper to all of these things in today's episode. The first tool that I'll recommend to anyone that may fear sharing their music online is to investigate what they may really be afraid of. Self-reflecting on your own through a journaling practice or with the help of a mental health counselor. What are some of the thoughts that cross your mind as you think about sharing your music online? Is it the belief that you don't know if anyone will like your music? Do your anxieties make you believe that something bad will happen if you share your music? Is it the belief that you're not good enough to share your music online? Whatever it is, it's worth investigating through self-reflection, a journaling practice, or in therapy. Where might your beliefs come from? Are they true? What do you feel like you need to know or believe in order to feel safe and confident in sharing your music online? Who can support you as you work through this? Obviously, I am not a mental health professional and cannot offer up concrete solutions for these questions, but I will use myself as an example. Now, I will be honest and say that I always feel a little apprehensive sharing any sort of content on social media, whether it's me singing through my warm-ups or sharing vocal tips. But in digging deeper into why I felt this way, I realized that my need to people please, which has always been something I've worked on and which has developed over time, was at the root of my fear. At my core, I wanted to make people happy and please my audience online. I wanted people to like me, my voice, and my content. But a big part of me working on this issue in my singing and in life has been realizing that I literally cannot please everyone. Everyone has their own unique tastes and preferences, and I just can't meet all of those preferences. I just can't. So rather than focusing on what others will think, I focus instead on the message that I want to share. Something that I value is being authentic in what I share on social media. And I focus on that while comforting myself when I feel nervousness creeping in. When that nervousness creeps in, I give myself a pep talk. I acknowledge that I'm feeling nervous. Like I literally say to myself, I'm feeling nervous. And I say to myself, it's okay to feel this way. And I want to share this thing online because it means a lot to me. And maybe it'll mean something to someone else too. So I say those things to myself when I feel that nervousness and anxiety creeping in. I share all of that as an example of what the process can look like for you, whether that is doing this work with a mental health professional or through a journaling process. In the example that I shared, I identified what was really at the root of my fear, a need to people please and a fear of being rejected. Affirming that, comforting myself, and redirecting my attention to my intention in sharing the content. Everyone is going to have their own unique process, and I recommend doing this work to uncover and work through what's coming up for you. The second tool that you'll want to have at your disposal when you start to feel anxious about sharing your music online is a method for self-soothing. Assuming that you've done the work to uncover the why of why you're feeling the fear around sharing your music online, it can also be helpful to have a few tools for soothing yourself. This may include breathwork techniques like breathing in for 4 counts and out for 6, doing box breathing where you breathe in for 4, hold the breath for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold the breath again, or another type of breathwork exercise. This can also include taking a break from your screen to ground and tune into your senses, noticing what you're touching, tasting, seeing, hearing, etc., tuning into your senses off of your phone. Maybe it is repeating a few affirmations to yourself, like, it's okay to feel the way that I do, and I can do this. Whatever it is, it's important to have some grounding, self-soothing techniques that can bring you back to the present moment and back into your body and out of the mind. The third tool I'll offer here is to have a support system in place when you're feeling anxious about sharing content online. Who are your biggest cheerleaders? For me, it's my significant other and my best friend. Maybe it's your family. It's worth sharing your music and your social media content with these people who are likely to affirm your worth as a person and an artist. I'll also share a few additional things to keep in mind when struggling with anxiety and sharing your music online. One of those things is to remember that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. As I mentioned earlier, everyone has their own tastes and preferences when it comes to music, just like you have your own preferences. Do you like every piece of music that you hear? Probably not, and that's okay. But you're going to be the perfect cup of tea for someone out there, so share your music anyway. Going off of this, remember that there are always going to be unhappy people out there. There will always be people who find something to be mad or upset about, then project that onto others through snide, cutting comments online or IRL. I like to remember that people are usually this way for a reason, probably because of some trauma or life experience or upbringing that shaped them in that way. I like to keep that in mind and recognize that when people share negative comments online, it says a lot more about them than it does about you. One more thing to remember is that in the world of social media and in other services like Spotify and Apple Music, algorithms are king. Algorithms push the content and music that gets the most attention in the first few seconds and minutes of posting. Whether that is users loving what they're hearing or users that are enraged by what they're seeing on their feeds. Algorithms push the most sensational and attention-grabbing pieces of content, even if it's content that isn't all that groundbreaking or valuable, which also means that there's a lot of high-quality content and music out there that's just not getting recognized by the public. This isn't to say that the most attention-grabbing, popular pieces of content aren't good content. It's just that there's probably a lot of stuff out there that has a lot of high quality, high value to it that just isn't getting noticed. And I share this because I think it's tempting to believe that our music and our posts aren't valuable if they don't have a lot of likes or plays or views. But good music and good valuable content is good, even if the algorithm doesn't recognize it. It isn't always a judgment on your value or worth as an artist or a person. All right. So to recap the things that I shared in this episode, if you are dealing with the fear and anxiety that can come with sharing your music online, some things that you can try are to dig deeper into the why behind your fear with a mental health professional or through a self-reflection practice, through self-soothing and having a support system. Also keep in mind that not everyone has the same tastes and preferences that you do. What people say says more about them than it does about you. And the algorithm also plays a role in what we see online. I hope that this episode was helpful. And if you liked this episode, I would love it if you could leave a 5-star rating and review. Or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and like this video. If you're not following me on social media, I am on Instagram and TikTok. You can follow me there. The link is in the show description or in the description on YouTube. Right now, my schedule is pretty packed for private lessons, but another way that you can work with me is through my Curious Singer membership. You can find information on that through the show description. And until next time, happy singing, y'all.